What a beautiful day to be out here in San Angelo, Texas, and I think everybody knows the importance of this day. If you woke up this morning watching the broadcast, it's a really humbling day to see what happened on the beaches of Normandy 80 years ago. And we're here to celebrate, I think, what everybody would agree is the greatest generation, and here to celebrate, get this correct, here to celebrate almost 20,000 people in the Concho Valley who served in World War II. Almost 20,000 people in this area, the surrounding counties, that were part of the greatest generation, that didn't look for this conflict, but when their nation called, they were ready. And we have three of these gentlemen here on the front row, and we're going to talk about their service here momentarily. But today is personal. This project and the vision for this project has been in the making for several years. And there are some people in the audience that I want to recognize, and I know that I'm not going to say every single name, and so I hope you'll forgive me for that, because there are so many folks in the area who have, for the past year, dedicated themselves of their time and their talents, their resources to making this a really special day and a special celebration. I want to start with Taylor and Cody Kingman, who have championed this issue and have taken up in a selfless way the leadership of this effort. If y'all help me give them a round of applause. I want to thank Janet Karcher. I want to thank Harry Thomas. I want to thank Matt Lewis, President Hawkins, Mike Boyd, Brett and Julie Schneers, Elizabeth Chambers, Brooke Weiner, Raul Ruiz, and I know that I am missing so many more that have come together in a way that we can recognize those 20,000 people, that we can forever remember the service that they put towards this nation. If y'all will help me give them a round of applause. You know, today is personal to me. Like many of you, I grew up listening to the stories from World War II veterans from the greatest generation. That's why I decided to join. As Mike mentioned, my grandfather, John Koshak, was in the Army Air Corps, and some of you knew Johnny Koshak, and listening to his stories and understanding what he did inspired me. But it wasn't only John Koshak. My great-grandfather, Walter Sr. Pfluger, was almost 40 years old when World War II started. He had a business, he had a family, and like many people, he had to stop doing that and start by becoming in charge of the maintenance operations for 5 states, including Texas and the surrounding states, for the mechanized vehicles. I know that many of you have these same stories. Many of you have the personal side of this. And that's why today is especially important. Some of you have been to the beaches of Normandy. I've personally been there. We had a delegation this morning. In fact, I told some of my congressional colleagues to be careful because they thought that it would be a good idea to jump out of an airplane again today and land on the beaches of Normandy. I said, we kind of need you to come back and vote. So be careful. When you think about the names that we are going to inscribe here, you're going to see people like Earl Rudder, who was from Eden, Texas, that led the charge up Point de Hoc, where President Reagan 40 years ago stood and gave a speech. And Earl Rudder had a famous career ending at Texas A&M, but that's a name that you're going to see here. You're going to see names like General Ira Aker, who led the 8th Air Force, probably the most dangerous mission that you could embark on was flying over the skies there and facing a tough enemy. You're going to see names like Mr. David Silvas, Guillermo Cerna, Juan Cardenas, and Mr. Phil George, who are with us today. You're going to see 20,000 names here from the Concho Valley that were ready and willing, and some of them did give their all. I think it was summed up well this morning by Karl Rove, who said these were folks, neighbors, people that grew up on farms and ranches that took the call to an extraordinary mission. Today being the 80th anniversary of D-Day, they were ready and willing to give it their all. But the 4.5 years that World War II spanned, the challenges that the greatest generation was able to overcome, the impact was not just for our country, this was a worldwide impact. Our country would not be the same today. The rest of the world would not be the same today were it not for the folks that are sitting on this front row and the millions of people in the greatest generation. Not everybody has had the chance to sit and listen to Frank Poole talk about his being a tank commander across North Africa. Not everybody has had the chance to listen to these gentlemen and hear their stories. And the personal impact that I know many of us feel we want to memorialize here. To remember those stories so that my daughters, your kids and grandkids can learn about. I can't think of another community that would come together in a way that this community has come together today to do that, to celebrate on the 80th anniversary of D-Day the greatest generation and their sacrifice and what that has meant to us. And so I hope that this memorial will serve as a place that we can celebrate a generation that changed, truly changed the world, that did so in a way that they didn't ask to be a part of this conflict. It wasn't their wish to be a part of it, but when called upon, they did. Tom Brokaw, in his book, published in 1998, talks about the greatest generation. And he said there's 5 lessons to be learned: resilience and bravery, sacrifice and duty, selflessness and patriotism, resiliency in the face of adversity, and lastly, legacy and impact. The legacy and the impact that those veterans have had on San Angelo, Texas, and on the greater Concho Valley has had a lasting impact, and you can see it right here in this crowd. When I went to the Air Force Academy, we had to learn a poem by John Stuart Mills, and I want to read it to you. I want to read part of it to you. He said, "War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling which thinks that nothing is worth war is much worse. A man who has nothing which he is willing to fight for, nothing which he cares more about than he does his personal safety, is a miserable creature who has no chance of being free unless made and kept so by the exertions of better men than himself. As long as justice and injustice have not terminated their ever-renewing fight for ascendancy in the affairs of mankind, human beings must be willing, when the need is, to do battle for that freedom."
I, too, was a daughter of a gentleman, my father, who chose to serve in World War II. And he is of that generation who lied about their age because they believed in what was going on and they wanted to be a part of it. He was one of 4 brothers. They all enlisted on the very same day. And his brothers lied for him when he was 15 years of age and said he was of age to serve. So I am proud that today we are going to have basically a ribbon cutting to begin the work and effort of delivering what I think will be one of the greatest monuments to all of those people who might not live here, whose families might not live here, but who were connected to World War II in some kind of a way. I attend all the Vietnam Memorial events, And what I like about what they've done is they really have an area that you can hold events, that you can sit there, that families can come and honor their friends and families and loved ones that served. And that became my vision for what I thought we needed to do here. Not just a statue, but an area where we could hold events, where families could come and honor, could hold events for their family, whether it's family reunions or other events, and congregate and really spend the time to thank their families for all what they gave for this country. It is the greatest country, and we're privileged to be a part of it. By accident, I happened to be in Washington, D.C. when they did the ribbon cutting for the Vietnam Memorial. And I'll never forget that day. The number of service people, the nurses, their groups of people, Ronald Reagan showing up, the very popular bands that were great bands that these people who served in Vietnam never got to hear live. And they were all there devoting their time because they knew that these soldiers were soldiers that didn't necessarily sign up, but were called to duty to serve. We are a privileged nation, and I hope as we go forward that the future generations will love our country enough that they too will sign up to serve. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for everyone who's had a part in creating this vision, this event, and we hope that as we move forward, that it's not just a World War II event. As General Hawkins, President Hawkins said, we want to be able to honor anyone who served in any war and gave their life, their limb, or part of their world to us, American citizens. So thank you for being here today.
If you will, give a round of applause for one of our younger presenters from the podium today who will read poetry that has been woven together. Will you help me welcome up Brindley Schneers?
I don't know war or the pain of it. I don't know all you've endured. My gratitude feels insignificant. So I weave it in words and pray they are a gift fit for a soldier. From the poems I'll Remember Those Days by Marv Levy, The Cage by Jodi Cassira, and Thank You Poems to Our Vets by Anonymous. A woven program of poetry to say, our generation thanks yours. Let us all remember the importance of honor and loyalty in honor of you, the soldier. A man walked up to me some time ago. He said he had a story he wanted me to know. He reached out his hand to shake mine, and he took me back to a place in time. He told me he was a soldier in World War II, a POW in Leesburg. Sad, but true. As he began to tell the story, I could see it in his eyes. He had gone back to that place in his mind. He said, 110,000 men walked through those gates. The Nazis were filled with nothing but hate. The camp was thronged, and we knew our stay there would be long. I cannot tell you how many days I was there, only that every day I said the same prayer. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear boots, fly planes, drive a boat, but they all mean the same. They are old and young, present and past, fight for freedom, and are often taken for granted. So today, I want to say, dear veterans, you may never understand who you are to your country, to your family and friends, but I know you gave it all to the war. America owes it all to you. Selfless and strong, we thank you for answering the call. We salute you for your freedom. No thank you can compare. But let me try and say, thank you for your service to our country. You fought and died for us, and now we honor you, proudly protecting us. Thank you to the vets for your struggles, for your successes, for your failures, for your strengths. Thank you for risking your life in serving this great nation, a nation that has taught me to pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, because not all heroes wear capes. Most wear military uniforms. Without you, the world would be different. So thank you. Thank you for protecting our country. Thank you for risking your lives for others, for making the world a better place. May your legacy live on forever. Then he said, fewer than 1 million of us now still march along, but I'll remember us all as 16 million strong. I'll remember us as World War II buddies, not some out-of-date fuddy-duddies. I'll remember that time when we went off to war and returned to a world that was better than before. I'll remember all those with whom I served. The greatest generation, a title well deserved.